Hey, hello everyone. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, depending on which time zone you are in. Welcome to this 54th edition of ClariTea Chat. Today we have Rajiv Arora, Global Head of IT Global Hub at Siemens AG. Hi Rajiv, welcome to
Hi,
ClariTea Chat.
Dinesh. Hi, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all of you.
Yeah. So, Siemens is a technology company focused on industry, infrastructure, mobility, and healthcare. From more resource-efficient factories, resilient supply chains, and smarter buildings and grids to cleaner and more comfortable transportation, as well as advanced healthcare. Siemens creates technology with purpose, adding real value to customers. It's globally one of the largest companies in many areas. Welcome to this session, Rajiv. Once again, cheers.
Cheers.
Yeah. So Rajiv has done large growth stints while transforming and scaling up across as CIO as well as head of IT P&L. His reputation for transformation got him roles across industries seamlessly. Our chat with Rajiv will cover case studies about technology-driven transformations and scaling up across the CIO and IT P&L roles in different ways, setting up large global shared service center with a steadfast growth mindset, an unwavering process rigor. He'll talk more about it, a clear vision, and an ability to build and mentor teams. Of course, um, not being in the rut, breaking away from the obvious, and building a can-do brand. So his inspirational story will tell us how his career was shaped, what philosophies and styles he has used. And we'll end the chat with a rapid fire round to bring out the personal side of Rajiv and then a reverse question to me. So Rajiv, before we start talking of serious things, so let's get some energy going. Please share the incident, about a big risk or bet that you took, saying that you will cut the cake only if this go live works well. Tell us about it.
So this was a story about when I was a group CIO for GE Money, and we were about to launch a Tata co-brand card on MasterCard authentication. And GE was predominantly a Visa-based company or a JCB-based company. And getting a co-brand certified on MasterCard was a 6 to 9 month process. Took up a challenge of doing that on a mainframe with our Australia guys in exactly 60 days. And when I invited my CEO and a CFO to come to our room and asked them to cut a cake and swipe the card, he was not confident that can happen because he has not seen it out. But when he actually swiped the cards and the transaction went smooth on MasterCard, that was a wow factor for him. But also a wow factor for my team that we had really focused on our goal to achieve that within 60 days so that business could be actually taking forward and making things impossible possible in case you are committed and passionate to make it happen. So that was one of the breakthrough story I had in my career path when I was a part of G Capital.
Awesome, awesome. I mean, imagine that we are talking with somebody who brought down the cycle time of a process, a complex market go to market process from 9 months to 2 months, and that gets some excitement going, Rajiv, for sure. So, and then taking the bet that you cut the cake only if the transaction works. Yeah. So we'll know more such stories from Rajiv as we go through cutting the cycle times but growing the revenues and the business. So let's quickly go back to our audience. So we have CXOs, founders, IT managers, and seasoned technology industry leaders in our audience, and all of us know that technology is necessary but not sufficient to drive business performance. The guests on ClariTea Chat have built the bridge between the necessary and sufficient with their art of managing technologies. And we are here to learn the art from the artists. So thank you all for joining us for the last 1 year and more, and encouraging us with your interactions and questions. So let us see who we have here. While I do that, may I request our audience to share their name and where you're joining from in the comment box of LinkedIn or YouTube. So let's see who all have joined us so far. Okay, so we have Amarinder Singh, one of our most regular audience. Thanks, Amarinder, for joining us. And we also have a similar name, Amandeep Singh, joining us from Amchi, Mumbai. I know Amarinder joins us from Bangalore. Hey, thanks, Amandeep, for joining us. And we also have Miraj Vashi joining us from Bangalore. Okay, so let's keep them coming, guys. Let us know that you're there. In our studio, we cannot see how many of you are there, so please keep your names and locations coming up. Let's go on with the grilling of Rajiv. So, Rajiv, let's begin with a quick 2-minute recap of of your childhood right up to your first job.
So I was born to a middle class family, to a father who was working for a fertilizer company of India in in Sindri. And I had many incidents to the time I really got my first job with NIC in New Delhi for the government of India. So let me take only two incidents. During my childhood, I saw a complete downfall in my personal life. We moved to a one-bedroom apartment where four of us were living together. And there was only one bed for four of us. And financially, we had a lot of constraints. I remember one day I had to buy a book of maths book when I was in 10th standard, where all my friends had actually purchased and were preparing for those board exams what they had it out. And I requested my father for that book. I know it was costing only some $100 that time, something like that. I don't remember the exact amount. But in the evening, what I saw, my father and mother were talking to each other, how they could cut the other part of the savings to help me buy that book, which could help me for the board exams. And that was a turning point for me. And I realized that I need to step up and take care of my own destiny. And rather than buying a book, I borrowed a book from a friend of mine and made notes in 2 calendar nights. I still remember it was 2 calendar nights. I really bought that book. And with whatever limited resources I had, I really worked towards a very goal focused, which I had learned in my personal life with my parents and my grandparents. And I ended up to being one of the topper of Gujarat stage for my 12th board exams. Very focused guy. That was the one experience, one incident which I remember and would remember all my life. And there was a second incident in my life where I was in an engineering college. and I had to drop for giving for my MBA exam in IITs, the CAT exam, what we have, IM exam, the CAT exam. And that was purely personal reason of dropping that exam because my father had met with an accident and he was in the hospital for more than 5 months, which I was not aware because he was in Delhi and I was in Baroda studying there. And I had rushed immediately when I got to know that he is in the hospital. I rushed, leaving the exam on one side just to be with him. And when he came back, I actually was slightly demotivated. That's when my father reminded me that I used to play with him, which I used to do that some 22 years back also, play chess with him all the weekends. Because that was our fun time on the weekends. And he used to share the reflections of life in every Sunday. And what does it take? I still remember on one of the Sundays, he was showing me that how he managed his life with an immediate family of 2 kids and a wife, an extended family of 2 brothers and a sister. How do you manage? And when I was demotivated, he made me think that in life, when you have to move forward, at times you have to take a step backward also. So you're not a loser. Sometimes we have to lose their most wanted thing, that like the queen in a chess, to be also sacrificed. Like I had to sacrifice my MBA exam. And every small person called pawn in a chess should be also respected because nobody is small. And finally, he also taught me in that chess game, and which he reminded me when I was demotivated from my MBA exam, that when you play a chess, teamwork, cooperations actually work to help you win the game. So in these two incidents, what I want to share with you, what I had in my childhood till I took the first job was that one need to be goal focused, working with a team in a very collaborative way. If you have these three things, you can win any game. And that, Jagdish, has been my lessons all my life. I've been a learner, a collaborator, a team player with a goal focus.
Awesome, Rajiv. And I think these are some really deep learnings. When you want to go forward in life, sometimes you have to step back. I played chess with my father. He taught me something so this is something that resonates with me as well. And yeah, sometimes the pawns becomes queens if it goes far forward. And yeah, you have to sacrifice the queen sometimes. And yeah, I realized that even though this is one person playing chess, we are actually managing a team of all the whether it's a knight or a or a queen and pawns and all. It's actually you're managing a team. Awesome.
You're a leader in that scenario. You're a leader in that scenario.
Absolutely. Yeah. And these, all of these have different capabilities and different constraints, and you got to make them work to win with those constraints and capabilities. It's an amazing analogy of life and leadership. So Rajiv, let's move forward. Please give us a quick overview of your career, the companies, the roles, and one highlight from each of these.
So I started my career after doing my graduation in computer science in 1989. Started my career with NIC, the National Informatics Center, the Government of India, where I actually preserved my goal toward perfection and built from a programmer to a developer to an analyst to a senior system analyst, from strength to strength I built it out. Got married. Typically, as married, you get pushed to take up a bigger salary, moved to a private company called NIT Technology at that time. And that was the first step for me to step out of India and manage a large Y2K project with a diverse team for British Airways. Great journey to take it forward. Lived in London for a good amount of time. Had an unfortunate, being a son, came back to India, lost my father for some reason, first heart attack, and had to join a company called Polaris Software, where learning to upskill myself didn't stop. I kept learning myself and took a bold step to get into the P&L role from scratch and build a business for $40 billion. with a team of some 1,100 people across 3 continents. Super happy, excited for 5 years. That was an incident when I actually had a chance to meet a CEO of a well-known brand called G at that time, who actually pulled me into G Money, that time called G Capital or G Money. And actually, that was my first time of my journey to get into a CXO role, where I actually perfected myself by being a master of Black Belt Six Sigma, Lean Six Sigma, and drove technology transformations. But G Money, when they didn't get a license for banking in India, I planned to sell it off. That's when I was handpicked by the blue company called IBM, where my thought leadership working with CXOs by seeding new breakthrough ideas with large banks and insurance companies helped me again go back to a P&L role and build a business from about 72 million to about 200 million euro dollars, $200 million. That was a great learning for me for thought leadership. But something what I was missing was the digital world, digital transformation. Having been well known within the G Capital G types with my many senior executives in the company, I had a chance to also work with him in Microsoft, where I actually built a transformation, digital transformation, a partner ecosystem with SI partners or system integrators with analysts, and continue to build my strength after my strengths. And finally, enjoyed that job for almost 7 years almost. Very happy, very satisfied. Suddenly comes a company called Siemens to give me a chance to drive something at a global level and polish my skills for both business transformation and digital transformations. And I have a privilege of leading now a diverse team of about 28 people across 700 locations worldwide, or what we call 24 lead countries, with a team from 15 countries and 4 functions. And a lot of learning how to really seed in the new normal, the mobile working place, or how to drive scale and multiply strategy at a global level. So Jagdish, that has been my journey as of date, where I actually worked for all these companies and have been a quick learner, fast learner all my life.
Awesome, awesome. So I can see that you were in NIC and then you moved on the other side to NIIT, came back to Polaris, and then took a CIO role in G Capital, went back to IBM and Microsoft, and then again came back to the CIO role. So you have a good, unique, I would say, experience across both sides of the table, as I call it, and you have proved yourself in both of them. Let's pick up on some of those experiences. So this is like driving technology transformation and scaling up. So building an account from scratch to 40 million, and then taking a $72 million business to $200 million, and on the G side, like setting up the global shared service center. Please share with us, some of those mantras, or I mean, of course, what you did in those scaling up and transformations, and how you did it. What are some of the challenges you faced? Talk to us about that.
So there have been many, many stories in my career paths over a period of time. So let me pick up the first story when I actually picked up the first P&L role. I was in a slightly demotivated or emotionally down because I lost my father that time. But for me, coming from a middle-class family, job was super critical for me to drive it out. And I had no experience, no domain knowledge of the investment banking. But I was made the head of the investment banking practice by company of Polaris, where I actually started from scratch and started working with a number of investment bankers to find out who they are. And we actually could click a first deal that time. At that time, it was all HCL Pero Systems and IBM and TCS. So we clicked the first deal from UBS Investment Banking. I still remember we had gone to Chicago for the first project. We picked up from the contractors working in US in Chicago with a team of 4 people. And that journey started with Chicago and never ended after that. I really built teams in London, teams in Singapore, Hong Kong, and built a first shared service center for UBS out of Singapore. And that was a time when it was a Kargil war. And people were thinking that we should really look at India to be a offshore setup. I said, no. If I look at the emotions, the mindset of the Swiss guys, they want safety politically and from the security point of view. Second, they want strong processes. That's when I really built my CM level 3 and 5 level processes. And third was they wanted real competency of skills. That's where we really build a team with specific induction. I still remember writing a silver book on investment banking, swap, equity, and options, and training everybody from scratch. That initial planning and investments, and I have huge team. I can't forget my colleagues who actually work with me day and night. And I actually traveled to London in that period of 5 years, so almost 300 times, and to Singapore almost up to 200 times. And that made me feel that how I could grow the account to a $40 million account. Super success. Second one, I can just pick up of the G Capitals. As I shared with you, G was a known brand that time for being a Six Sigma guy. And we had a number of businesses in G Capital, which was a personal loan business. It was a SBI card business. I know I shared with you on the co-brand card what we launched with Tata. We also have a similar challenge on the personal loan business, where we were actually giving a personal loan to our customers for buying a white goods in 28 calendar days. And we reduced to 45 minutes. We actually didn't lean the process. Actually, I remember for months and months, we were actually sitting with the entire process mapped on a whiteboard and just seeing what all areas we could cut down, from even verification of a customer, local bank to give a printed check, other things. And we could bring it down to almost 45 minutes. And that was a big success for us in G Capital. And I really thanks to all my team members. I still remember a lot of names, but that was a big success to show that how we got it out. And in this whole process, my team became Lean Six Sigma guy certified, Master Black Belt guys. And we could actually re-engineer the complete personal business with the businesses to take it to next level. And a third story I'll share with you is a recent story. All of us know 2.5 years back, suddenly we were all locked into our homes. Pandemic happened, COVID came, and all were locked into our homes. And in Siemens, I had a new CIO who had actually joined from the external market. Was very, very energetic, bold, and she had built some trust with me in just, I would say, 90 days of time frame based on the outcome which I delivered. And she asked me to lead a mobile working program for new normal. Never knew what to do, never knew whom to work with. But the goal was very clear, that we have to ensure that everyone is able to work from his or her home, from a mobile location, anywhere in the world. And that's where I actually built a framework along with our colleagues from the consulting team. I was one of the team members with that. Build a framework for the new normal, keeping in mind 4 major pillars. The first pillar being the leadership with trust and empathy, led by HR. Second pillar being led by real estate on how to drive the activity-based office structures. Third pillar, how do we drive the employee well-being? And the fourth pillar was mobile working, which I was leading it out. We formed a team with the clear goals of 168 people from 28 countries. And when I look back after 1 year, when I was presenting to the board members, I never knew we did so much with those 168 people who never reported to me, who I had not seen, and could make 245,000 people work from their homes seamlessly and help them to enhance the productivity. So Jagdish, there will be many such stories. I can keep narrating one by one. So that's how I have been working in this company and making a difference for the organizations.
Oh no, absolutely. And Rajiv, let me pick up the nuggets, from this. So I mean, this is amazing that like just to set up that entire account and and making sure that um, I mean how you scaled it up to $40 million. Those 200 flights to London, 300 to Singapore, and something like the sum of those figures. So that tells me that you are a man on the ground, completely sleeves rolled up in the thick of action. And I've seen it personally also, as we were preparing for this ClariTea Chat. I think the way you have been involved, the way you have just simply adopted my process and contributed to it, it's been amazing. I mean, it tells me how fully involved you are, and I think with that kind of involvement, the level of trust that you can get from your customers is unparalleled. The
Not only
second one,
customer, Jagdish, it also from the team also. Both this
exactly,
customer
yeah,
and team together.
absolutely, absolutely. You're with the team. You're like, it's not like you're bossing around, but you're hustling with the team. You're part of them, and as much as you are asking, you're also giving yourself. Like in my case itself, I see some of my guests, who have lots of questions and who have a bit of cynicism about the process. But I see that you simply adopted it and you improvised it, and then I think you have taken it to a level which very few of my guests have done. So to my audience, I think this is one of the big learnings, that be on the ground, be 360-degree involved, hustle it out with your team, be on the ground. Remote management doesn't work that well. Of course, it worked when it came to him in the sense of the pandemic forcing you not to travel. But I'm sure even there you have been as involved with the team and as face to face with the team across the 360-degree planning of those initiatives. And that's like my second takeaway from what you just mentioned is a complete coverage, 360-degree coverage, and very importantly, leading without direct power. I think you have been sort of a CFT leader. These people had their reportings elsewhere, but you were able to engage them and motivate them even without these people reporting directly to you. So my question to our audience is that can you command that kind of influence power by being on the ground, by leading from the front, that people feel like working with you, people are motivated to know you, work with you, get into your good books, and so on. um, yeah, and I think the other one, very starkly, you didn't really talk about so much about the technology aspects of your GE Money role, but you talked about the outcome aspects. How a process is coming down from 28 days to 45 minutes, and doing those process mapping and all. And then again, that again is a my a takeaway to our audience, that focus on the process. I think most of your answers, if something is not working, if something is not optimal, if you're not getting the outcomes, the answers will always be in the process. Just get down to the to the deepest details of it, and you will find your answers. Anything you want to add to that, Rajiv, or I'll move to the next question?
I totally agree with you. Totally agree with you, Jagdish. Technology is just an enabler. Is the main thing is a process. If you really focus on process and take the team along with you, technology can help you automate it or digitize it.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. So, Rajiv, now let's move to around growth mindset and all that. So, I kind of saw that you never limit yourself. I didn't see really any limiting factors to you, and that shows a clear growth mindset. Of course, we talked about the process rigor. You've been very rigorous with the ClariTea Chat process as well, and building high performance teams. Okay, so tell our audience more about these three things: growth mindset, process rigor, and building high performance teams. How do you do that, and how should somebody in our audience do that?
Thanks, Jagdish. A really good question. So let me put a approach which I normally followed, and I followed in the recent organization of Siemens. So when I joined Siemens about almost 4.5 years back, the kind of vision which was given to me before the I joining was, I have to join here, drive digitalizations, help company transform the company, and we have a very highly competent team to drive it out. So no doubt, team was really good who joined, but when I landed here, I found out we had the basic infrastructure issues, which was not my cup of tea. Because I had never been a infrastructure guy, even in my previous time, more of a process, strategy, thought leadership guy. But having worked for the big brands like Microsoft, IBM, and GE, I actually built a framework called 4E framework after talking to almost all CEOs and CFOs of the company, of the businesses. And what does the 4E stands for? And I took the team along with me. First E stands for how would you engage with customers? When I say customer means internal users of Siemens, what we had it out. This could be various ways of doing it, either through DG talks, or through hackathons, or through workshops, or through other mechanisms. But engage customers to drive it out so that he knows who you are. And that led me to think first before that engagement was, how do I empower my team, my partners with whom I work? That's where I really actually build various competencies, various resources to enable them out, either through partners or through the right resources within the organization to help them out. But I also learned in the whole process that my infrastructure, the foundation, need to be also strengthened. So I enabled the ecosystem where I actually brought in cloud technologies, low-code platforms, so that it becomes more robust enough. So that when my employees, my associates talk to the customer, when they give the customers, they have a stable platform to showcase out. And all these three things help them to elevate the experience of a customer. And just to quantify, when I actually joined, in a scale of 10, the customer satisfaction or the interview satisfaction was much below 5. In 1.5 year, we could bring it to 8.9. And that only happened through engagements, empowerment, enabling the ecosystems to deliver the experience. Huge success, what we could bring it out. And that drove the growth mindset in my team. Very focused how to drive it out, ensure that they actually deliver it out. So that was one example. And the second example, which I can give you again, it happened about 15 to 20 months back. A new function called Global Hub was created. It was not there in the past. We had a regional structure, but we collapsed the regional structure and created a one structure called Global Hub. And for the blessings of God, I could get that role to drive it out. What a Global Hub does basically. Global Hub is the one which actually helps multiply the Siemens IT strategy worldwide. Worldwide means 240,000 associates worldwide with 122 factories across the globe. So I actually really built an organization with a vision how to drive it out. With roles and responsibilities, build the structure, build the mandates, and actually brought a team of 500 people along with me. And when we actually celebrated our first birthday and looked at the mirror, behind mirror, we found that we've delivered a lot and really redefined how the structure could work, the Global Hub could work, as an integrator with multiple business of Siemens and the corporate in the countries to drive digitalizations and make it a big success. And that was a wow factor because it was not possible for an Indian who has a team below him who has nobody as an Indian, but from leaders from almost some 18 countries. And that really came also through my thought leadership experience, transformation experience, technology experience to transform the business and take it to the next level. So, Jagdish, these were the two things I can keep talking about, building the whole thing out. But the whole thing was that I really built a leadership with trust and empathy across the globe to make it a huge success for all of us.
Awesome, awesome. So, again, uh, I also have to talk something here. So, I generally do the takeaways, Rajiv. I really liked your the concept of engaging the customers, enabling them, empowering the teams, and then elevate the entire experience. And I think it's very important to quantify. When you took it from something like 5 to 8.9, right? The point is that how many of us really look at our performance from the customer's point of view. I mean, how many of us really go all out to gather that, whether it is 5 or 6 or 7, and then work in a very systematic manner to take it up. I remember, the first time I did a IT satisfaction survey, our response rates used to be very poor. So we actually gamified the entire system to get something like 70% response rates from users. And that kind of rich data gave us action items at a very granular level, at a function level, at a location level, at a factory level, at a site level, to drive some very focused and local actions. And I think in about 3 or 4 years, we took our employee satisfaction on a scale of 5 from around 3.3 to almost like 4.06, which Gartner said is like one of the benchmarks. So I think the key point here is to listen, to quantify the experience of your stakeholders, and then systematically transform it. I think the other point that you mentioned here is like building a global team, which is again, I think one of the key to that would be completely transforming your model, where you created this concept of a global hub, which I'm sure with the kind of communicator that you are, you sold that concept to your team, and everyone kind of like took to it that, hey, I see growth here. So I think you have to do things, whatever transformation you're undertaking or whatever big initiative you're undertaking. There's a certain amount of communicating and selling to the team that is needed, so that they really go all out to build the whole thing and realize that vision with their growth as well as part of it, isn't it?
Totally agree with you, Jagdish. People really call me, at least in my global out team, Raju, you're a hardcore salesperson. You know how to sell.
Absolutely. So there are those stories like where you are able to get somebody to do something impossible. It's actually more than anything. It's like you've been able to sell the concept of it, right? Yeah. So Rajiv, I have a follow-up question on that. Especially I see a very, very people-centric approach in you, whether it is for your customers, for employees, or for your teams. So there is a certain amount of mentoring and growing the team, and I'm sure whatever you do as a mentor, you couldn't have done it without getting mentored yourself. So tell us one story of your mentor and one story of you being a mentor.
Many stories. I still remember one story of being mentored when I had joined G Capital. My CEO Vishal Pandit that time um, actually had given a very good induction to me. And he really mentored me that G has its own brand, where we actually are known for our leadership, for our processes, and the most important was we take care of our teams. And actually, he taught me that how one leader, when he or she joins an organization, should look at the existing team and build on their strengths, not on weaknesses, build on their strengths and actually drive outcomes. So my journey in that by his mentor actually made a difference of launching multiple breakthrough initiatives in my career paths at G by the same team was who had some challenges in the beginning, but delivered something breakthrough initiatives from process for personal loan, for home loans, or even for the cards. And also, not only that, we never had even thought how can we make our IT function, which is typically a cost center, to a cost neutral one by actually helping business set up an embossing machine for co-brands. And I still remember the time of Jet Airways when we actually had the privileged platinum card being embossed by us. And that really helped us become a cost neutral. So lesson learned from him was very, very clear that one need to be very process focused and leaders need to see how he or she can drive outcomes from the existing team by upskilling and mentoring and take it to next level.
Awesome, awesome. So I think
Now,
again, yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
go ahead, Satish, go ahead.
No, the other side. I'll summarize after that.
The other side of my organization, I know I've been a mentor to many. There are few in my existing organization who I'm really looking at, who I'm working as a mentors to them, and especially the people outside India. And I actually found one good thing that people, no matter what color of the skin he or she has, are same. So when I was mentoring this person, he had a huge challenge that he's not able to get a dream job in a dream location within the company, what he's aspiring towards for the last 4 or 5 years. So I actually, when I was mentoring him, I said, park this goal on one side. Don't think about it. Let's look at your strengths. Look at your way, how you can make a difference, what all you have done, how I can make you as a leader. That job automatically comes to you because that has been my forte in my career path of a can-do attitude in my career path. So I really institutionalized in his mind frame that how he can build his own brand is by delivering outcomes, focusing on processes, focusing on marketing his outcome, what is delivering it out with quantification. Because G, one thing which taught me, Vishal, was quantify your outcomes. Don't say, I have done it good. No, quantify it. And I would say that there was a time about a couple of months back, the same mentee of mine pinged me around 11:30 p.m. in the night. Can I talk to you for a few minutes? He was from the Western Europe. I picked up his call. Typically, Rajiv was, I'm awake till 2 o'clock working with my teams. And he said that, Rajiv, you have been mentoring me for the last almost 2 years now. What was a dream for me has come true. I feel I'm more prepared now to face these challenges. So, Jagdish, just to summarize to you, whatever I learned from my mentee, from my mentor, I share that in my mentee. And I work towards helping them also go in their career path and build a can-do attitude to take it to the next level.
Absolutely. No, I think just to summarize it, the mentor story is very importantly, and I can allude to your learnings from the game of chess that build on strengths of the team, not identifying their weaknesses. You will each of these what you call pieces have their strengths as well as their constraint. So you play to their strengths in chess, and similarly, you play to the strengths of your team. Be process focused, and we all say drive outcomes for organizations. I think I'm seeing you as the first guy who's who's giving an aha to me, saying that drive outcomes for your teams. Each of your team members should see an outcome which is larger for them, and if that happens for all of your team, it automatically happens for the organization. And very importantly, quantify your outcomes. I think the same thing I can see, like with your mentee story as well. Play to your strengths, drive outcome and KPIs, and you'll get your dream job, and which happened. So, Rajiv, before we go forward, let me go back to our audience. They have been very, very active here. I've been sort of observing it. So let me bring up some of the guys. So we have Dattatray from Oman. Hi, Dattatray. We have Kapil Shukla is a good friend from Singapore. Hey, thanks, Kapil, for joining. Ishan from New Delhi. We have Mr. Sethi. He's another, very regular audience, as well as one of my keynote, guests always. He has been on ClariTea Chat multiple times. Thank you, Vijay sir, for joining. We have Anand Yashwant from Pune. Hey, Anand, thanks for joining. Thank you, Bipin, for joining. And let me move on. Okay, so here comes a question from Amarinder for you, Rajiv. It says, what are the dynamics, nuances of a large, complex IT deal in which the deployment licenses are for multi-country? You've been on both sides of the table. How to make IT deals win-win for both parties? So you can decide which one you want to pick first.
First of all, thanks, Amarinder. He's a good friend of mine also. He's a man who is always have been a very, very dynamic in the CIO community. So coming back to your first question, Amarinder, I'll just pick the first one, and maybe we can answer the second one later on a separate note. So what are the nuances of a large complex IT deal in which deployment licenses are for multiple countries? So Amarinder, there are multiple nuances. I'll give you a very simple example, which I am right now in the current stage. We decided to launch our own DWP, called Digital Workplace, or a Windows image, across 24 countries, what we call it out, worldwide. The deal was signed in Germany and had to be landed worldwide with a partner. First, nuances. Does partner have a presence across all those countries to support it out? That's one. Second, every country has a legal bindings. Legal from a tax point of view, data privacy point of view, cybersecurity point of view, as well as a local language point of view. Does your partner have those kind of a capability to drive it out? Can that partner handle all these things? Number two. Number three, in this pandemic world, when we are in a new normal, yes, we call it, we have 24 countries with 7 locations worldwide. But I say no, there are 245,000 offices worldwide, meaning everyone is sitting at a home. Does your solution, which comes from Microsoft, can be rolled out on a bandwidth which is also considered in many homes or offices, and Siemens audience support? The third point comes from that point of view. And the fourth, what is the fallback mechanism? What something falls through the cracks while installing it out? How does you make him or her again productive within hours so that he's supported? So these are the 3 or 4, Amrinder, I can just come out from the top of my head. There are some more also, but they are top 4 or 5 what we are actually working with a partner. If that can address out, it really helps us out. I didn't pick up the topic of the financials part of it, cost, with inflation right now, with the currency forex challenges across the globe. That becomes a challenge because what you buy in Europe could be very expensive for a low-cost country in Indonesia, Malaysia, or in South America, and could be very cheap for the European countries. So that itself becomes a challenge But that's something we normally take care of it at the time of signing the deal. I hope that answered your questions, Amrinder.
Yeah, no, thanks for that. I think you've taken the question to a different level, which is like, you focus on the strategic aspects of it, focus on the contextual aspects of it. Like, for example, the post-pandemic normal, which is like, everyone working from their home and all that. And it's more about, being able to drive reliable outcomes in a cross geography fashion rather than, some of those commercial aspects, right? Yeah. So there's another one, Rajiv, which is from Amandeep. It's a long question, so let me read it for you. You mentioned during the discussion that technology is just an enabler. If something is not working or working suboptimal, focus on the process. He says that in SaaS sales as a vendor, when I approach my clients after the first meeting, client insists on seeing the product demo. But as a salesperson, I always strive for understanding the current process and challenges the client is facing, so that we can offer a solution to a problem, but not. Anyway, I think what he's trying to ask is that, while I'm trying to understand the process, the client insists on giving a demo. So if I don't understand your process very well, how do I give a demo? So how do you solve for this?
No, perfectly okay. Amandeep, you really asked a very good question. So typically, coming from my P&L hat, which I used to wear sometime past, I normally encourage, because this is a normal habit of a customer is, and I'm also a customer now in the on side of the table. Give me a demo because I believe I know my processes better than what you would know. So that's where I normally recommend, which I have been following a process in my times, was that how to ensure that how do I get the customer in a room to conduct a value discovery workshop where I actually show him the standard processes which comes from the McKinsey of the world or from the industry, which are very well-known established industries, to show them the processes and ask questions to him or her that yes, you are different. We respect your difference. We respect your processes, but this is the standard process what the competition of that particular company is working upon. That really creates a question in the mind of a customer that why are they doing it separately and why can't I do it? What is that? Why I'm different in it? And that discovery workshop helps you bring him on the table to define the I would say the process. And there also, my 2 cents would be pick up a persona and take that persona, idea of life of a persona, and walk through the process. And take the persona who would be sitting in that room so that he can relate his day-to-day work. And that will trigger him not to see a demo, but look at a process. And once you know a process, technology could be an enabler for you to help you out. And that's how I would suggest my 2 cents for driving it out.
No, absolutely, absolutely. I loved this one, and I resonate with this one. About the persona. So let me narrate an incident. Just to make it real. So one of my mentees, like runs a company, fast-growing company, and then so her question to me was like, sir, how do I, I was just telling her that, this that the connection with the customer is very important, and we just ran a small thought experiment with her. I said, okay, when is your next interaction with the customer, and who all are going to be there? So she knew the names, but she didn't know the role. So we actually went to LinkedIn, checked them out, and figured out that there's a CEO, there's a CFO in the room, and this guy has. It's a very different industry, but this guy has been like throughout in telecom, right? And then it's in a very different industry now where she's going to present. I said, have you done any projects in telecom? I said, yeah, lots of them. I said, okay, so do one thing. When you're presenting, try bringing up some examples of, your this case studies in telecom. And the team was sort of intrigued. There's some other people who were intrigued, but then she caught the attention of this decision maker like nothing. I would say unparalleled attention and questions, and so there was a discussion going on between these two people. a very key decision maker. So yeah, if you're able to, connect with the key stakeholders in the room and drive that persona based conversation, the needs and the pains based conversation, I think your demo can be kind of aligned towards that. So
Totally
Rajiv,
with
we
you.
are sort of, yeah, it just gave me a uh, sort of a pointer to narrate that incident. So Rajiv, let's move to our rapid fire round now. We are like just about at the end of the hour. I must compliment you, Rajiv, that you've been very, very efficient, and that shows the rigor of your process. That we have been able to like sort of cover a lot within the given time constraint. So this is one section I never want to skip, which is the rapid fire. Um, so. Uh, So Rajiv, what's your relationship with your bag?
I think so that question could be better asked to my wife, who is actually seeing in my career path of last 30 years, that she's always ready with a new bag ready, and we're at next flying. Because as I shared with you, I traveled to London, to Singapore, to US, and now in the current role, again, I'm in India for a week and then traveling for 3 weeks. So she's always, but what she has learned the art of how to keep my bag ready and perfectly ready so that I can really travel to any part of the geography. Because she verifies the weather, she verifies the time when I land up and whom all I'm meeting there. So
Okay, so it's a three-way relationship. You, your wife, and your bag, always ready
that's right.
for the next trip. Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Yeah, and one of the things that resonates with you is golf. Tell us about your golf.
See, it's I would say the blessings of God that I am actually living to a very place in Gurgaon, which is next to the BLF Golf Club, and being a father of two daughters, was very keen for my daughters to become CXOs in their career paths. Made them join golf club, made them learn golf, which also made me learn golf. And one thing I learned in the whole process, which I actually give a message to my daughters also, because I closed a large deal with a large insurance company in the golf club in my
Awesome.
career path when I was doing a P&L role. So golf became my B1 to take it forward.
Awesome. Awesome. Yes. Golf is one place where you do get to network, as well as I know there are lots of deals that get closed on the golf course. But I think when you're playing, it is you and the course and your ball, right? And I just wanted to mention one thing here, that if you really want to check out the character of somebody, just play golf with them. You will know how they behave with the caddy. How much they curse. I mean, do they fudge their scores? Do they call penalties on themselves? There's a
And
lot
if
that
he,
golf can tell you about the character.
and whether he's focused,
Exactly. Yeah,
committed, persistent, there are lots of things what you can learn from the game.
absolutely. How do you react after a good shot versus a bad shot?
So take it.
Absolutely, absolutely. No, always love a long discussion on golf. So I have to control myself, Rajiv, here. By the way, I also live next to a golf course. I chose to come out of the buzz of Mumbai just for golf. Yeah. Um,
That's
so
great.
uh, yeah, so I think that's something that's common between us. We both live next to a golf course. Yeah. So Rajiv, I mean, I can see, like, despite being busy, the way you have been involved in the ClariTea Chat process, and I have seen like the way you travel and the way you sort of manage this global operation. Um, so one obvious question, I think, which would be on everyone's mind, I'm sure your team asks you this question all the time: where do you get the energy to keep going?
The energy comes from the same team, their passion, their commitment, their push, plus a vision to transform. So basically, Jagdish, I never get tired if I see my team working. I never sleep if he or she is working. And that gives me more energy that he's the one who's actually making things happen. And that gives me energy.
Awesome, awesome. I am, this is the same question that has been asked to me many times, and I think my answer is the same. It's actually the what you're going after and what you want your team to become, and you're like in a supporting role for them, right? Okay, so my next question: if not a CIO, what would you have been as per your family aspiration?
Doctor. My father always wanted me to be a doctor. I still remember when I got the top positions in Gujarat State. In 12th standard, he wanted me to be a doctor. My mother wanted me to be an engineer, but I opted engineer.
Awesome, awesome, yeah. Yeah, actually, I'll ask you a question towards the end, which is connected to something to a similar one, to a similar theme. But Rajiv, maybe one where I will relax my criteria a little bit, and I'll allow you to give a long answer. See, many a times we people they fall short of, or they are shy of taking a tough call. Okay, what's the toughest call you took, which you knew had implications?
I'll not go far off. I'll just take 3 years back my clock. We had a multi-decade partner working for my current company in the country, managing our complete operations and supports. And that's when I shared in the beginning, the satisfaction survey was below 5. And changing that partner was not an easy not an easy thing, because I was even appraised by my peers, by my seniors, that in case you try to change a partner, you may lose a job. But I took that call and actually transformed that partner to a new partner from the same country. A bold step. I heard that in the history of 10 or 15 years, that was the first time somebody had changed that partner in a country, but that was for the good. And I never looked back. But actually, it really proved in the headquarters that he's a bold and a very passionate guy to make things happen. And that boldness was captured for transformation by the top leadership team.
Awesome, awesome. I know you had to visit the headquarters to answer some questions about this decision, but that's for another day.
Yeah,
You always
definitely.
have to. Yeah, I mean, I think there was a similar thing that happened with me as well. In fact, people said that, I mean, no one has been able to do something like this, and you may lose your job. But yeah, I think many times you have to do what you have to do, and you have to be true to the organization's agenda and like to the voice of your stakeholders, right? Okay, so let me see if there's another question from the audience. Um, Not really. There are lots of appreciation, so let me quickly bring them, and then I'll ask you the last question. So yeah, Amarinder is very happy with your answer. He says, very comprehensive answer. As always, great to learn from you.
Thank you.
Uh, Amandeep is again like very appreciative of the way you answered his question. That was absolutely amazing. And I have a comment from Prashant. Candid conversation and sharing experiences. Very well articulation of the 4E framework. Awesome.
Thank
Okay.
you.
So, sir, my last question to you is like, one message you want to leave with the audience.
Jagdish, there are many messages, but one message which always come to my mind, which is from Bhagavad Gita, that is better to live your own destiny imperfectly than to live an imitation of somebody's life with perfections. And that's something I've been living through, and it always in the back of my mind when I'm actually working. And there's a message I would like to leave for all of us in this call, for my partners.
No, absolutely, absolutely fantastic, Rajiv. You're absolutely right. In fact, I can connect with that. Way back when I was a graduate trainee in Tata Motors, we had a presentation skills class. Okay, and the trainer actually asked each one of us, when you are on stage, who would you want to talk as like, what's your inspiration? Somebody said Mahatma Gandhi, somebody said Martin Luther King, somebody said Jawaharlal Nehru, and all that. And this guy said, what? Um, they are what they are they because they were speaking like themselves. So when you come on stage, speak like yourself. Don't try to imitate anyone. And I have like always followed that advice, and like, whether it's perfect or imperfect doesn't matter. I think it has to be an authentic you, not trying to imitate anyone, not trying to imitate anyone's accent or mannerisms or whatever, but just being yourself.
Jagdish, one of my mentor gave the same learning to me. I was asked by in one of the forum to address of 4,000 people, first time in my life, and I was supposed to speak after a chief minister.
Awesome.
So not an easy thing. So one thing he taught me, which anyway I've been doing a lot of coaching and teaching in the past, but coming on a stage and addressing 4,000 people was not an easy thing. One thing he taught me, which I actually practiced on that forum, was I didn't see anybody in front of me. I saw myself. And I focused on that individual Rajiv myself and made that session. And I actually got super wow that I was super clear and not worried about others. So
Absolutely.
that's how I did it.
Absolutely. I think that's a really powerful way to, like, give a to sort of end the chat, with a message to the audience. But we are not at the end yet. I mean, you have to take your revenge, Rajiv. I've been grilling you all through, and I give a chance to my guests to get back at me. So, what's your revenge question?
It's not revenge, Jagdish. You have been a very quiet and a sweet guy for talking to me for last almost more than 60, 62 minutes. And you have conducted almost 53 such sessions in the past. I'm the 54th one person. Tell me one key takeaway, what you can share with all of us, which could be learning for the entire CIO community who are attending it out.
So, Rajiv, I think the biggest takeaway is that we all have our own unique stories to tell. So there are no, I have seen that as I talk to each of my fellow CIOs and leaders, there are some common themes. Okay. But I think these themes appear in multiple different ways. Like, for example, the common themes are, leverage your partners, be inclusive, communicate, involve them and treat them as part of your team, and you can do wonders. I think there have been enough stories about not limiting your thought process about what you can expect from technology. So, you can really think big, and the technology is there to support you. So we have seen enough examples of, people doing magic with technology, right? But I think um, uh, the uniqueness of each one's stories comes in terms of how they take these different, elements of creating success and then create their own recipe. Many of my guests have told me that, Jagdish, I didn't know I have such a powerful story to tell, right? But at the end of the clarity chat, they actually go back, wow, that, oh, we had something, something you always do is like no big deal to you, right? But it can be a big deal to audience, and it can be a big deal when you talk through your experiences and your case studies. So, summarizing it, each one has a unique story. The elements are common, but how you mix and match and create a different recipe for that, that's unique to each and every individual. And I learn all of them in the process. So I can say that, the biggest gainer from Clarity Chat is me, because I gain so much more experience uh, from everyone.
So thanks for Jagdish for giving that. I really envy you basically. You learn a lot. You have learned a lot. And honestly saying, I know not only you, but I think so. Even I was challenged and I had to share some stories with all of you. I had to sit back 2 hours before the call to think of what stories I can share with all of you. But really, good to learn that you learned a lot. and really thankful to share with all of us. And back to
I
you.
Yeah, no, Rajiv, I must again compliment you, like, for spending so much time in preparing for this. And I think, creates a much more powerful and much more, I would say, focused chat. Thank you so much. And thank you all our audience for attending and engaging. Thank you all, who have asked the questions, who have engaged here. And last but not the least, thank you all who are watching the recording, at leisure over the weekend and beyond. So please do enjoy your family time. And thank you, Rajiv, so much for joining me on ClariTea Chat today.
Oh, thanks, Jagdish, for having me in the ClariTea Chat. Also taking me back to my childhood to remember these stories and share with all of you. It was a great learning and great sharing with all my colleagues in the call and answering their questions. There are a few more I can see that, but I will really help answer to all those questions also after the call.
Yeah, no, I can see some questions are still coming. So I think Rajiv, you and I can go back to LinkedIn later on and answer those questions. But
Definitely.
yeah, but once again, thank you everyone, and we'll be back on next Saturday. Yes, that is 25th of June. Till then, bye bye.
Bye bye, guys. Thank you. Have enjoy your weekend.